Hiya! It feels like it's been forever since I've done A, and now I'm doing B. So B is for brave and bravery. So get ready, get excited. The women I have for you today are incredible. Okay, our first queen doesn't even need an introduction. She's phenomenal. She's amazing. She's worldwide. And by worldwide, I mean world known. Nope. Okay, our first woman doesn't need an introduction. She is world known, famous across all lands for her bravery and her ability to stand up to the Taliban. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me slow down. Malala was born in Pakistan on 6/7/1997. Girls, I was born in the 90s too. Her father was actually really great. She gives him a lot of credit for how she was raised. He was big into women's education and even ran a girls' school in her community. So she went to this girls' school and he felt that he was very supportive of her gaining the best quality education. And she really appreciated that and took that to heart. So she is growing up in Pakistan and the Taliban actually took control. And then they immediately started banning education for girls and for women. And so, her father still believed that she deserved an education. And so she began to speak up and speak out on behalf of girls and their right to formal education. And that put her on a lot of lists, a lot of targeting lists for the Taliban and other organizations that felt that women's rights should be suppressed. And so actually in October of 2012, she was on a school bus and some men came on and said, "Who's Malala?" And she said, "That's me." And they shot her in the face. So that's crazy. Talk about not even knowing consequences. I mean, that's insane. So she wakes up 10 days later in a hospital in the UK because she gets pulled out of there real fast. And when she wakes up, she has this thought come into her head where she's like, wow, I have been given a new life and I've been given a new opportunity. And so she decides, I can either hide away and use this new life for selfish reasons, or I can use this new opportunity to speak out even more, right? So she was so brave in the beginning to speak out against the Taliban when she was younger. And then after she was shot in the face, she continued to speak out and decided that regardless of being shot, she knew what was right. She had to keep going. She had to keep pushing for education for women worldwide, let alone in just Pakistan. So it's interesting, her dad actually completely agreed with her, and they set up the Malala Fund. It's a website. I can link it below. It's great. It's got so much powerful information. And so they started working together to raise money and to give speeches and travel around and spread the news about what happened to Malala and how people in the world can help women and girls get educated, formally educated. So she says 12 years of formal education, that is what she believes girls deserve. And honestly, I'm with you, girl. I think women everywhere deserve to be educated. So she is so fantastic. So she actually wrote a book, and I've included a picture on this situation. So you should also go get the book. It's great. I'm currently reading it now, so I will let you know how it goes. But she's awesome. So she actually, because she became determined to do the right thing, she ends up speaking at all these things, like I said, and her dad is helping her, and everyone's, wow, this is an amazing story, to the point where she does so much good. She is the youngest Nobel laureate ever. And she ends up winning the Nobel Peace Prize. How cool is that? Right? So her bravery is rewarded in this Nobel Peace Prize that she now has. She got to go to college in the UK, and now she's working towards making her ideas of education and reform and all this stuff for women. She's working to make it in practice. So her bravery, pre-gunshot wound, post-gunshot wound, is just phenomenal. It's outstanding, right? I mean, she is incredible. She's been speaking everywhere. And I'm really impressed that someone this young can be so bold and so brave. And I think that that's something that everyone should know about, is that these young women across the world, Greta Thunberg they're all young women, and people say, oh, you're too young to do this and you're too young to do that. But it's the young who are changing the world, right? The old are the ones who have already done something to the world, and it's the new who are either going to fix that problem or continue to make the world a better place. And I think that Malala is a perfect example of someone who realized that she could do something, and so she did, right? If you are out there and you realize that there is something that's missing, you need to just do it. I had an English teacher in high school who I now is a colleague of mine, and I was lamenting to her that there wasn't a video explaining Henry VIII and all his wives, or all his wives, all the women, and then Henry VIII, right? They will all make an appearance, I am confident, because they are all fantastic women who ruled their kingdom in different ways. I digress. I was lamenting to this woman that, there's no video explaining what happened between Henry VIII and his wives, and the Pope and the church and the English people. So there just wasn't one that I felt was good enough for my 8th grade class that really said what I needed it to say. She said to me, if it's not out there, that means you have to do it. And I started thinking about that, and it's really affected me. If it's not out there, you have to do it. And it might be scary, and it might be dangerous, but if it's not done already, then do it, right? Like, what's stopping you from just doing it? And so I think Malala is a perfect example of what was stopping her. Nothing until she got shot in the face. And then what was stopping her? Nothing. She let nothing get in her way, and she's still letting nothing get in her way. She is bravely and boldly plowing through opposition, and she is going to be and do great things because she already has done great things. So Malala is a perfect person to start off this letter with, right? She is brave. This next woman is going to blow your mind. If you read the Alice Network, which I have, my husband has, Robert, and Mom just finished reading, great book. This is a real life Alice Network situation. So this woman, brave as she can be, her name is Josephine Baker. She was born in St. Louis, Missouri, June 3rd, 1906. Okay, so she actually was born to a rather poor family, and they were all street performers. So she danced in the street for survival until she was about 15. And then she was picked up by this African-American, traveling acting troupe. They saw her dancing, and they were like, we want her. She's phenomenal, right? So then they start dancing around New York, and everyone is wanting to come and see her because she is so phenomenal. And she's just fluid, and she has this, quirky way of doing different things. And she's got this, almost how Charlie Chaplin has an image and an idea of how he acts on stage. And that's how she was, right? She knew who she was. And so she had this persona on the stage when she would dance that she embodied. And people were just absolutely enthralled by her. So she ends up getting so famous that she goes over to France, right? So she's like, ugh, made it in America, gotta go to France. So she bops on over to France, and she's crushing it in the Parisian court. Everyone's going to see her. She's traveling all over Europe. She dines with kings and queens. People are coming from all over Europe to watch Josephine Baker dance. This is all fun and games, right? But it has nothing to do with bravery. I'm sure that's what you're thinking. Correction, it does have to do with bravery. See, Josephine Baker was actually African American, which is not that important, except for the fact that she was dancing in France, and all of a sudden, bam, the Germans invaded. Yes, I know. We're talking World War II style. The Germans are here. So what does Josephine Baker do, right? The Germans are relatively racist. Obviously, that was being sarcastic. So she says, you know what? I'm going to keep dancing, and I'm going to learn German, and I'm going to spy on all the Germans who come in to watch me. Reminder, right? She's a famous dancer, so everyone wants to see her. They've been hearing all about her. So the highest ranking officials are coming into her dance place, and they're watching her dance, and they're talking because she's just an American. She's African American at that, so she couldn't possibly know what they're talking about in German. Correction, she could. And she actually joined the French resistance, becoming a war hero for the amount of information she passed from the Germans to the French, just because she learned German and they didn't suspect a thing. Now, this is brave, right? Like, this is textbook. She knew it was dangerous, but she did it anyway because she knew it was right. But what's crazier is when she came back to America after being a French war hero, she was treated horribly because of segregation rules, right? How crazy is that? So she's actually pretty PO'd about this. She comes back to America, returns home after the war, a decorated war hero in France. She comes home and she has this beautiful quote where she's like, I danced and dined with kings and queens in Europe. And I come home to my own country and I can't even buy a cup of coffee in a certain coffee shops because of my skin. Like, she was blowing people's minds left and right. So people, obviously, when she came back, they were like, oh, Josephine Baker's back in America. We should go see her. But every place she danced, she said, if you're not segregating, or if you're not desegregating, I'm not performing. So she made all these different, white owners, she forced them to desegregate so that her people, all people, could come and watch her dance, which is just incredible, right? So she was rocking it. And so she ended up knowing how dangerous it would be, right? If she went down to the South, it was dangerous during the civil rights to be African American. She didn't care. She crushed it. She actually ended up adopting 13 children. She called them her Rainbow Tribe. And she was so big into cultural and racial harmony that she had all these different children from all these different places. And she just wanted everyone to see that it's possible to have family, to have friends, to have a cordial conversation with someone of a different ethnicity, skin tone, background, whatever, right? So she was super cool. Like, what a great woman. So we've got Malala, who's like literally fighting the Taliban single-handedly and getting shot in the face for it. And then you have Josephine Baker, who's fighting the Germans. And then she comes back to America to fight for civil rights. I mean, hello. She was actually so influential in the U.S. that she was one of the only women that marched on Washington who got to speak. So she was actually one of the few women who got to make a speech. Like, when Martin Luther King did his thing, she also did her thing, right? Like, that's so amazing. And I don't think she gets enough credit. I think she gets overshadowed by, Martin Luther and Malcolm X and all these men that did things, and like, they were amazing and impactful. But Josephine Baker was also amazing and impactful, and I would hate for her to get swept under the rug. It's silly. Not to mention, total sidebar, she had a pet, like, jaguar, cheetah looking thing. It was a speckled animal. Talk about being brave. You have a wild animal for your pet. Like, that is next level stuff. But I guess if you fought the Germans, then, like, is a jaguar that scary? Probably not. So she was actually really awesome. And she continued to perform and speak out about racial injustice until she died in 1975. So I don't know if she'd be proud of how the world is today, but I think we've come a little further than when she was dancing on stage for the Germans. So that's at least a good thing. But she's really fascinating. And I think she and Malala are both really awesome because they're people of color championing for equality and for rights of women and African American people. And I think it's, so often you think, oh, well, maybe I need someone in power to help. And like, you do. People in power need to help us too, but it can always start with just one person, right? So it started with Malala being like, hey, girls should have the right to education. Like, that's silly. And Josephine Baker realizing that what Germany was doing was wrong. And it didn't matter to her that she was just a dancer. Like, what does that even mean? Just a dancer. She can change what's going on. She can help fight against injustice in Germany and France, in the whole world, right? Even coming back to America. And I think they pair together really well. As people of color who are fighting injustices, as women who are so brave despite atrocious circumstances and terrifying and dangerous circumstances. So I think that they're a really good combo for our word brave today. And I also think that, it's easy to overlook people who at the time you think, oh, well, there were plenty of French resistance people or lots of people that are speaking up against the Taliban. But you can't just gloss over people, like I was saying with Josephine about the March on Washington. Just because men made great speeches too doesn't mean women didn't, right? Just because Malala's dad thinks it's good for women to have equal rights doesn't mean like we should gloss over the fact that Malala got shot in the face for it, right? So I think it's really important as you grow your kingdom and you rule your kingdom to focus and find women that inspire you to be the best and most authentic you there is. And yeah, that there is. Had to think of the grammar there for a minute. So yes, yes, yes. Bravery, bravery, bravery. These women encompass that word. I wanted to thank everybody for watching again. Again, I apologize that it took me forever to get this uploaded. It's been a bit crazy couple weeks, but C is coming out soon, so be on the lookout for what our word is, who our women are. I'm looking forward to sharing more information about amazing women with you guys. I hope you were inspired by Malala and by Josephine. They are incredibly brave women, and Josephine was so impactful with civil rights and with World War II, and I know that Malala is going to do some amazing things in the future. So be on the lookout for more information about them and check out the links and read our blog. Bye! Hey, by the way, you are all queens, so rule your kingdom with bravery.